in the Sudan to immediately sign indefinite ceasefire. And IFRC lauds Ethiopia's effort in hosting and managing the Sudanese refugees. Hello and welcome to Addis News Hour, broadcasting to you from Addis Ababa. I'm Daniel Kasahun with the news. The heads of state and government of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD Quartet group of countries met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to discuss in depth the implementation of the IGAD roadmap for peace in the Republic of Sudan. IGAD Quartet strongly urges Sudanese parties to immediately stop violence and sign unconditional ceasefire. Tigastar Nessa has more on this.
IGAD members commended the initiative of the chair as well as members of the IGAD Quartet for engaging neighboring countries and all other stakeholders to support ongoing efforts towards the silencing the guns, resolutions of the conflict in the Republic of Sudan and restoration of the civilian-led democratic transition.
Firstly, the parties to the violence conflict will have to silence the guns and immediately put in place an unconditional and indefinite ceasefire. To this effect, we call for a strike no-fly zone over the Sudan as well as and cease the use of heavy artillery.
They appreciated the African Union for closely working in collaboration with IGAD Quartet in harmonizing efforts towards the implementation of a common roadmap for the peaceful resolution of the crisis of the Republic of Sudan, and noted the regrettable absence of the delegation of Sudan Armed Forces SAF in spite of invitation and confirmation of attendance. Quartet members acknowledged the continuing efforts of the United Nations and key regional and international partners, including the United States, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, with whom the IGAD Quartet shares an equal commitment to the cause of peace in the Republic of Sudan.
And we are all here to express concern and alarm about the situation and to talk about how we can harmonize and synchronize our efforts so that we're more effective in trying to end the fighting, deliver humanitarian assistance, and support a civilian political process.
Expressed deep concern regarding the impact of ongoing war in the Republic of Sudan, which has so far killed thousands of people and displaced almost 3 million people, including 2.2 million IDPs and nearly 615,000 refugees that have crossed the border into neighboring countries, and appreciated the neighboring countries of Sudan that have opened their borders to provide protection for Sudanese brothers and sisters. Concerned by the degenerating humanitarian situation in the Republic of Sudan, the Quartet decided to take concrete steps to facilitate immediate humanitarian assistance to all Sudanese affected by the conflict.
Secondly, both parties to the conflict will have to facilitate the immediate delivery of humanitarian assistance to all beneficiaries affected by the violent conflict.
Mindful of the sovereignty of Sudan, the Quartet committed to undertake all measures to safeguard its territorial integrity and underline the centrality of the Sudanese people, noting their aspiration for a peaceful, democratic, and prosperous Sudan, commits to support measures that address the root cause of the crisis in the country.
And much more importantly, is to take this problem to the real owners of Sudan, and that is the people of Sudan. And that is why this afternoon, IGAD and AU are now mandated to put together a mechanism for the people, for all the political actors in Sudan to engage in a process that will eventually solve the problem of Sudan in its entirety.
The quartet urged all Sudanese actors to engage in all-inclusive Sudanese-owned and Sudanese-led dialogue towards a sustainable peace, which in this regard, IGAD in coordination with the AU will immediately commence on a civilian engagement process that will deliver on these objectives.
You're watching the live transmission of this news hour. The Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister of Ethiopia, Demeke Mekonnen, urged African countries to double efforts to address problems in creating job opportunities. The African Job Creation Forum that was held in Addis Ababa for 3 days as part of the African Integration Day commemoration concluded today. The unemployment challenges that Africans are facing mainly originate from mismanagement, labor supply and demand caused by a lack of qualified skill training tailored to the 21st century markets, inflation and recession, Demeke stated. African Union Commission Deputy Chairperson Onur Paz said Africa has more than 70% youth and job creation is critical in the continent. The East African Standby Force announced its readiness for any deployment. The Subcontinental Joint Security Force, which has been making various arrangements since its inception in 2004, announced that it has completed the necessary preparations and is on alert to fulfill any duty in the region or outside the region. The commander of the Standby Force, on the other hand, stated that they have been carrying out preparatory activities to ensure peace and security of East Africa. We have the following report.
One of the 5 regional multifunctional forces of the African Standby Force, ASF, which consists of military, police and civilian components, is the East African Standby Force. The East African Standby Force was founded as a regional organization to provide capability for fast deployment of forces to carry out peace support, stability operations, peace enforcement, preventive deployment, and rapid intervention missions. In its headquarters in Addis Ababa, the East African Standby Force has launched a 10-day training for participants from all member states, and opening the training, Mekonnen Abebe expressed the current security issues in the region and the need for collective force.
The people of our motherland, Africa, and the peoples of East Africa region desire and as well deserve to have a prosperous and peaceful life. Our people want to live with freedom from fear, freedom from disease and poverty. The continental and regional peace and security structure have been created not for other purpose, but to ensure, to contribute for the attainment of this dream of our people. The peace and security architecture, such as the East African Standby Force, ASF, are created to mitigate and resolve the conflicts in our region and avoid their disastrous impact on the political, social, and economic development of the continent.
The Commander-in-Chief of the East African Standby Force on his part stated that the regional organization has completed its preparations to any deployment.
The East African Standby Force is working different activities to accomplish any mission in the region and in the continent. This pre-mission training is also a capacity building for effective mission accomplishment for East African Standby Force.
Since its inception, the Subcontinental Joint Security Force has made a number of preparations, and now it claimed that it has completed those preparations and is ready to perform any task within and outside the region.
We have a bilateral forces by the member states, and those bilateral forces are just verified every year, and they are ready for deployment in any time we need.
Colonel Samuel Madala, who came to coordinate the training and share experience from SADC, which is one of the African standby forces, said that the effort to resolve the conflicts and instabilities in Africa through subcontinental joint security forces are yielding results, by citing Southern African Standby Brigade SADC's example.
Indeed, collective forces can be able to provide the mechanisms to provide the peace within the region, as we are always preaching the issue of African problems for the African solutions for the African problems. So as the regional bodies, we need to understand each other and work together. That's why maybe I'm here in the ESF to lead this course. At the same time, we are able to understand how the other regions are doing and share the experiences, so that when we are deployed as an African standby force, we are able to understand each other and know how we operate.
The East African Standby Force is a regional organization with a mandate of enhancing peace and security in East Africa. Reporting for EBC, Johannes van Touwen from East African Standby Force Headquarters, Addis Ababa.
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Teta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and World Remit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Burr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
ላሉም ደግሞ ተደራሽ መሆን የሚችል አሁን እንደምታየው ይሄ የእግር መንገድ እየተሰራ አለ። ቱሪስቶች ይሄንን ተጠቅመው ገብተው በእግር ወይም በጋማ ከብት እየገቡ ማየት ይችላሉ። ወደፊት ደግሞ ይሄንን መንገድ ደረጃውን አሳድገን ቱሪስቶች በቀላሉ እዚሁ አካባቢ ከሚገኘው ከዋናው መንገድ ተገንጥሎ 10 ኪሎ ሜትር ላይ ይሄንን ሀይቅ መጎብኘት የሚቻልበት እድል ይኖራል ማለት ነው።
The reform programs introduced to the Ethiopian judicial system.
All right.
So I can say one of our notable achievements is the successful implementation of the court reform packages and programs introduced to the Ethiopian judicial system.
Oh.
Different reform packages were introduced to strengthen the commercial benches, for the branding of the judiciary, and even will lay the foundational work for electronic case management system.
All right.
And so generally too many reform packages were introduced to the Ethiopian judicial system to make the Ethiopian judiciary more efficient, to modernize our courts and to make our judiciary more efficient and effective.
As an Ethiopian jurist, he has over 25 years of experience in adjudication, public administration and policy research. He served in the Ethiopian judiciary mainly as a judge for 20 years at different levels of the court in both regional and federal positions. He has also outlined areas that he needs extra work on.
Delivering the quality judgments is still one of the gaps that we have in the Ethiopian judiciary. I think it means a lot for me. First of all, personally, for me, it is an excellent career move.
Yeah, definitely.
And this with multi-dimensional benefits for myself and for my country.
Exactly.
This is because by my engagement to this highly prestigious global institution, there are benefits and gains for my country, not only for my country, but for Africa.
For the continent.
And also for the entire global south, because it would add to the representation of the voices of the global south.
He has called on Ethiopian and Africans to exert extra efforts and dedication so that Ethiopian positive image will be widely known.
We need to address, I think, it requires the attention of all stakeholders, including the government, the society, and all other stakeholders, taking into account the political tradition and the political culture of our country. This is not an easy task, but we need to push forward again. It also requires a constitutional reform, a constitutional amendment, and therefore I think it requires the joint efforts of all.
Salamon was elected by the United Nations General Assembly's 34th plenary meeting at the elections held on the 15th of November 2022 in New York.
Ethiopia and Bahrain discuss on ways of forging cooperation in the tourism sector. Ethiopian Consulate General Office in Bahrain indicated in a discussion with the Minister of Tourism of Bahrain, Fatima Al-Sayrafi, the Ethiopian Consul General in Bahrain, Ambassador Shfarro Gnati, stated that Ethiopia is home to various heritage and tourist attractions registered by the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Initiated by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, various parks and tourist destinations were built in recent years for local and foreign visitors, the Consul General recalled. There are multiple tourist destinations in different parts of Ethiopia, he added. They also said that the two organizations engaged in the tourism sector in the two countries should work by connecting the experts of the sector so that they can be put to work. Ambassador Shfarro suggested that strengthening people-to-people relations between Ethiopia and Bahrain would create an opportunity. For her part, the Bahraini Tourism Minister Fatima Al-Sayrafi has affirmed her country's readiness to work together with the Ethiopian consulate to strengthen the flow of visitors. Following the instability in Sudan, the Ethiopian Red Cross and the International Red Crescent Society expressed their commitment in providing humanitarian assistance for refugees in Ethiopia. This came here today at a briefing for journalists under Secretary General, National Development and Operational Coordinator Division at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Javier Castellanos appreciated Ethiopia in opening its border to Sudanese refugees.
I have to start saying that, first of all, recognize the enormous generosity of the government, of the local government, national government, the host communities for being so generous in expressions of solidarity. This represents a very important value of the people of Ethiopia to host so many refugees that are right now, every day, arriving to your country.
According to Javier, the Ethiopian Red Cross Society plays an unprecedented role in hosting and managing refugees in various parts of the country.
I am extremely proud of the Ethiopian Red Cross work. You have in this country a national society that puts the values of the humanitarian action in everything that they do. At the same time, I would like to highlight that after this mission to Metema, in terms of what we saw and what was described by the Secretary General, we have put the firm commitment to increase our financial support to the Ethiopian Red Cross Society in order to ensure that more humanitarian services can be provided, in order to guarantee that whatever support is being given to refugees right now is achieving standards of quality, and that can really help the significant humanitarian dire needs in the country.
In a related development, the Sudanese refugees who are sheltered in Metema districts of West Gondar zone expressed gratitude to the government of Ethiopia for rescuing their lives from hardship and death by opening its border with good hospitality. The conflict in Sudan has forced hundreds of thousands of people to flee to neighboring countries. Following the conflict, many Sudanese refugees have entered Ethiopia through multiple border crossing points in Amhara, Benshangul, Gumuz and Gambela regions. The refugees told the Ethiopian news agency that the hospitality and support given to them in Ethiopia helped them to rescue their lives from the hardship and suffering they might face in their effort to flee the conflict. Noting that since the day of their arrival in Ethiopia, they have been receiving food, drinking water and shelter, he stressed the need to address the food and medicine shortage which is sometimes observed. According to the coordinator, the refugees have been receiving food, drinking water, health and other related services. He also mentioned that efforts will be exerted in collaboration with the United Nations and other humanitarian organizations to meet the basic needs of the refugees. The refugees located in Metema and its environs have now reached more than 15,000. The African Union Commission, in collaboration with the East African Community Secretariat, is hosting the 14th AU High-Level Private Sector Forum in Nairobi, Kenya. The three-day forum is underway, themed Public-Private Sector Engagement for Inclusive Growth and Sustainable Development, while deepening regional and continental trade and investment towards implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. The forum is aimed at leveraging on the Continental Free Trade Area to promote regional value chains and increasing productive capacity, enhancing the role of women and youth in regional and continental development, and leveraging trends in digital transformation to enhance trade. Peter Mahutuki, Secretary General of the East African Community, noted implementation of African Continental Free Trade Area AfCFTA will lead to an increase in Africa's income by USD 450 billion by 2035. We therefore need to carry out a mass awareness campaign on trade opportunities, organize operational instruments, and finalize negotiations on rules of origin, he indicated.
ጤና ይስጥልን ተመልካቾቻችን፣
ይህ የምልክት ቋንቋ ፕሮግራም ነው።
ያንን መነሻ አድርገን የተለያዩ ጥናታዊ ጽሁፎችን ካሰባሰብን በኋላ ነው ወደ ለውጥ ይሄር ነው። ከዛ ነጥርሲትም አሉ።
እናመሰግናለን። አሁን ደግሞ የምንገኘው በኤፍኤም 97.1 ስቱዲዮ ውስጥ ነው። ካንጋፋ እስከ ወጣት የተቋሙ ሰራተኞች እዚህ ይገኛሉ። የኤፍኤም ሬዲዮአችን ማለት ነው። እንዲሁም
Welcome to the land of origins. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia is pleased to serve all your traveler banking needs. If you have money from any of these 16 countries, you can convert it to local currency by visiting our nearest branch. Alternatively, our secure Forex ATMs accept cash exchange, or if you prefer using your cards, we've partnered with Visa, MasterCard, and UnionPay so that you can withdraw cash from our local ATMs or make cashless transactions at thousands of local POS partners securely and with confidence. We are linked with more than 700 global banks through our direct SWIFT address, CBE Teta. We also work with 16 international money transfer agents, out of which Tune and WorldRemit enable you to make direct deposits into our savings and current accounts or our popular CBE Birr mobile wallet. Commercial Bank of Ethiopia, the bank you can always rely on.
So for those of you who feel they need something to give strength to their relationship and love, this has also gotten to the Fish River Canyon. As you can see, we have a couple of love locks here on the chains that take you down the hiking path. On this episode of Across All Borders Going South, it's all about the long road south. A trip to Fish River Canyon, Namibia. The world's second largest canyon. If you put in Google Map Windhoek to Hobus Camp, which is one of the lodges close to the Fish River Canyon, you will see immediately that it is about 644 kilometers, or if you started from Luderitz, it's 419 kilometers to the Hobus Camp. The Fish River Canyon is the second largest canyon in the world after the Grand Canyon. It commences at Seeheim at the lowest course of the river. The canyon is 161 kilometers long, 27 kilometers wide, and up to 550 meters deep. About the campsite or the Hobus accommodation and campsite offers different types of stays. So you've got lodges, and they've even got a pool for the rooms, and you've got the campsite.
Finally, the United Nations and African blocs have warned of the ethnic dimension to the conflict in the west region of Darfur in the Sudan. Government troops are locked in conflict with RSF forces and allied militias. The fighting is concentrated mainly in Darfur and the capital Khartoum, also in the Blue Nile state near Ethiopia, as well as in South Kordofan state. The conflict in Sudan is already created 2.2 million internal refugees. Numerous ceasefires have been announced but repeatedly ignored. Let's remind you of the headlines. IGAD Quartet group of countries urged parties in the Sudan to immediately sign indefinite ceasefire. And the IFRC lauds Ethiopia's efforts in hosting and managing the Sudanese refugees. That's all for this edition. Thank you for your company. Stay tuned with the rest of our programs.